my dad talked me out of going there. And
Why?
he said, why don't you turn pro and get a head start on everybody? He hits it and he goes, get down. I go, what? How far do you think you hit that? And he said, 250. And we get up there and his ball marks on the back fringe. I couldn't believe it. So I'm trying to get a couple more years out of myself here. If I finish second, that's first loser. I shot 66 in the Pro-Am, and I didn't cash a check. There's like 4 65s. I go, what am I getting into here? Anyway, I prayed to receive Christ that night. And changed my whole perspective. And the ball just looked like he skied it. And it went right. And I go, oh, we finally missed one. So I'm walking down there. I'm looking in the bunker to see where it is. And I look, it's in front of the green. He hit it like 320 yards. Unheard of.
What's the biggest mistake most golfers make?
Keeping their head down and their left arm straight. Short game is the fastest way. If you don't improve anything else, if you improve short game, that's the name of the game, getting in the hole. Yeah. Are you getting free lessons here? What is
trying.
This?
Welcome to another edition of No Holds Barred. I'm Rich Roth, and today my guest is Senior PGA Tour Pro, and now living here in the Lynchburg area, still playing some professional golf, but teaching and just enjoying life. And my guest now, Dick Mast. Hi, Dick.
Hi, Rich. Always good to be with you.
A pleasure. So here we are doing something a little different than what we normally do locally on the links.
What does that mean? Does that mean you're going to be a little more tough on me?
I can be.
Okay.
I can be. Should we dive in?
Sure.
An unbelievable career playing golf, and you're still playing competitively at the highest level at the age of
75, just turned 23rd. Oh. Goes fast.
Why? Why are you still playing?
Well, sports has been in my life my whole life. My dad was a coach at a small college in Ohio. He built a golf course while he was coaching there. He coached all sports, by the way, football, basketball, baseball, golf, all the same year, track, everything. So I got to be around that as a kid. That was a lot of fun, being able to play all the sports. So and I have 2 uncles that were coaches, some golf pros as well, club champions in the family. So competition was always big on Sunday afternoon when the relatives came over for potluck, and then we played golf the rest of the day. So
you said you played all sports, but golf seemed to be the predominant sport in your family.
Yeah, I kept giving up one sport at a time. I played football through sophomore in high school, and basketball through junior college. And in fact, I had a scholarship, half basketball, half golf, to Middle State, Tennessee.
Oh, wow.
My dad, I went and visited. I liked it, and I was going to go. And my dad talked me out of going there. And
Why?
He said, why don't you turn pro and get a head start on everybody? The college programs have gotten unbelievable. That's why you see guys come out at 19, 20 years old, and they're veterans, and the junior programs. We didn't have that when I was that age. Now, we had some tournaments, some local tournaments and somewhat, and I played junior. I'm from Ohio. When we moved to Florida when I was 16, I thought, I was the best player in the world, Then all of a sudden I got down there in a big school, and I said, oh, where do these guys come from? So my eyes were open.
What's your perception now of, kids specializing in sports at such an early age? Because you said, right up through college, you were playing multiple sports. I see so many, even college coaches now, encouraging kids to play different sports. We're hearing about injuries young people are having that they normally don't have because they're using the same muscles over and over again. And then there's burnout, and there's parents that are just putting unbelievable pressure on kids to do these things. Where do you stand on specializing? And when you come across somebody who's, got a child who's looks like they could be a really good golfer, how do you help them develop that person?
That's a really good question. Let's just take the number 1 player in the world, Scotty Scheffler.
Mm-hmm.
Ed Bowshoes, a doctor in town, his son Zach, I played with him since he was 10 years old when we moved up here, and he's now on the tour.
Yeah.
And I expect him to leap forward real quick, and he's doing well already, but I lost my thought there. What did you ask me?
I was just talking about, kids and how they develop
playing.
and
Yeah, so
evolve.
he told me a story that the juniors would go to these big tournaments, and clubs members would put them up to save money, help them save money. Well, at night, they'd play all these games. They'd play ping pong, they'd play basketball, they'd play tiddlywinks, everything. He said Scotty Scheffler at all those junior tournaments won everything that he played in. So obviously he was a multi-sport player, and especially at a young age, 5th grade on, learn how to play basketball, learn how to throw and catch a ball. That helps your eye-hand coordination. It's just a fact. So I'm not against, football. It gets a little rough later on, but at a young age, playing multiple sports, I think helps in golf.
You bring up Scotty Scheffler, and I think it was within the last year. He won a major championship and made a bunch of news, because he's like, look, it's just part of my life. It's not my whole life. Right. And he was talking about having other interests, and I mean, amazing, the top golfer on tour right now. And then you compare him to Tiger, and we'll talk a little bit more about Tiger in a minute. But, Tiger from the youngest age is on TV shows. And, we've all heard the stories, right, of his father throwing rocks at him while he was hitting, while he was hitting balls so he wouldn't be distracted. And, you see how Tiger's life evolved and how golf was the singular focus of his whole life. Scotty Scheffler, very different from that, it seems.
Well, Scotty Scheffler is a professing Christian. He has a strong faith in God, and that gives him a much better perspective that it's important to him, obviously. He's an unbelievable competitor, but that's the balance I think he really talks about: family, God, family, work. So, and then Tiger also, his mom... I played with Tiger at Riviera. They had the Genesis Open here a few weeks ago, and he was hosting it. And then they showed a picture of him when he was like 18 with a little badge, credential, so he could get in and walk around. They showed him swinging. Well, I happened to play with him a practice round that year.
Is that right?
Yeah, and so so we played early, and his dad. And the reason I thought of this is his dad told me, he says, I'm not the one that pushes him, it's his mom. Right. Anyway, he was a sergeant.
Mom goes under the bus?
Yeah. So I guess he was a sergeant or something, pretty tough guy, and knew a lot of mental, throwing rocks, like you said, yelling in his backswing, dropping clubs, stuff like that. Those are true stories. But the one I know about him, it was early in the morning. We played a practice round. The 4th hole is a par 3, and it's like 240 yards. In those days, it was a wound golf ball and a wood. And a 2-iron would go about 210 to 215 for the best players. So and it's early, so I'm hitting a 3-wood, 240, heavy air, and I hit it in the middle of the green. He gets up with an iron, and I'm standing kind of above him to the right of him watching, and he hits it, and he goes, "Get down." I go, "What? How far do you think you hit that?" And he said 250. And we get up there, and his ball mark's on the back fringe. I couldn't believe it. And then the next hole is just a smooth driver out to the corner, 260 or so. And then there's a ravine. So it was early. I hit a driver. A lot of times we're hitting 3-woods there. And he pulls out that iron after I hit my driver, and he flew it right on my ball. I go, what is this? So he was... The stats that week, I think he was the longest hitter out there, and he was only 18 years old, 145 pounds. But you could just see the talent oozing, chipping, all that.
He, is credited, and rightfully so, with changing the game, right? And we've seen a couple other people do that throughout the course of time. But, and I'm thinking specifically of, bringing a new, attracting a different demographic to golf. Blue collar guys, minorities, black people, right? All of a sudden. And one of the things that really impacted the game was with all the attention, more money, bigger purses, bigger prize money for everybody out on tour. And you kind of were out there, right, when this was all happening. Tell me about, the impact that he had and what players thought.
Well, as they say, he moves the needle, and there's a reason for it. He just dominated so much. And when he first came out, before he hit his first shot, Nike offered him paid him $20 million contract. Well, that was unheard of. $500,000 was the biggest players. I go, are they nuts? He hasn't even teed it up yet. How do they know what he's going to do? Well, they knew something. And so he was incredible, moving the needle. He was the best. They made up a category for him in 2002 because he had so many categories he was leading in. I can't remember the one category: the longest hitter, most greens, fewest putts, up and downs, proximity to the hole. He had them all.
What I remember, and we're just past Masters Week, and another great event down at Augusta. But I remember years ago when he was in his prime, them talking about Tiger proofing the golf course, right, and moving tees back, and and everybody just talking about it. It's like he was so dominant. Talk a little bit about what it was like playing on tour when he was in his prime, and what you and the other players kind of talked about.
Well, if he was 3 behind going the last round, he was leading. He averaged 67.5, if I remember right, in final round competition.
Wearing that red shirt.
That's unbelievable. He was, I guess he probably worked harder. It wasn't real popular to work out in a gym. In fact, when I was growing up in high school, our coach said, "You're off the team if you work out." That was considered it was going to hurt your smoothness or whatever. He was really one of the first ones besides Gary Player. But Gary was a smaller stature, and he didn't do as much lifting as Tiger did. He gained a lot of weight real quick, and it wasn't fat. So he showed that, and now you see it. Everybody's working out.
Got to. Stretching,
golf-specific, TPI certified people like Jeff Lowe's in town here at Virginia Sport and Spine. I'm actually going in there now. I've done different stretches and things and learned from the best, and they're just so knowledgeable about what specific for speed and longevity, and so I'm trying to get a couple more years out of myself here.
We're going to talk about that. I do have a couple of other questions on Tiger, because obviously still dominating the news, not necessarily in the best way right now.
Yeah.
But before we even get to that, I'm interested to know what you and the other guys thought as he was stealing the headlines and making his way up through the ranks and sort of dominating the game. Because what I want to compare him to is Caitlin Clark in the WNBA. And, it's like you see so much, I don't know if hatred's the right word, but so much animosity from some of the more senior players, like she didn't earn it, she didn't deserve it. And you're sitting there thinking to yourself, she's the one who's bringing all the attention to this game and more TV money and more fans. And it's going to benefit, it's going to have that trickle down effect that Tiger had. But I don't remember, and maybe people just kept it quiet, but I don't remember that same animosity towards Tiger from other golfers.
Yeah. The biggest crime that happened there was when Fuzzy Zeller said, "What are we having at the Masters dinner?" And so Fuzzy didn't mean anything about that. I wish that would have been tackled earlier by Tiger's dad, dismiss it. He didn't do it for about a month, and boy, the rumors and everything, he took a big hit. Fuzzy was really hurt by that.
Right, because people thought it was a racial comment, right? Right. Rather than Fuzzy's just a joking around kind of guy.
He did the same thing with Nick Faldo. What are we having, fish and chips? It's just tradition. He didn't mean anything racist about it.
The background for folks who don't know is when you win the Masters the next year at the Masters dinner, when you have all the past champions, the winner gets to choose the meal.
Exactly. And so that's what happened there. But no, the guys that knew the Nicklauses, the guys that have been there, Orville Moody's, these guys, they knew what the money was. I know, because I was back there too in the 70s. What it was $100,000 purse, $150,000 purse was big money. And he just moved the needle so fast, and they were happy about it. They knew that it was big for golf, and so did Pete Dye. Pete Dye did a lot for golf, the first commissioner of the PGA Tour. He really escalated the purses, and he understood that.
Tiger's recent issues, another DUI, seems like he really has a substance abuse problem.
Yeah.
Guys are supporting him clearly, but also holding him accountable, it seems.
Yeah, we're all responsible for wrong decisions. I think that it's a drug addiction from painkillers, the codeine and what they put him on strong stuff. And, he can afford anything he wants financially. And those drugs give you a false sense of feeling good. And so I think that's what it is. It's an addiction to painkillers. I don't think it's recreational. Motivation wasn't recreational. And it's a shame, because he's a great guy. He'll look you right in the eye when you talk to him, no matter who you are.
Did you ever have a chance to play with him other than that one instance that you had mentioned?
I guess I didn't.
So just the youngest, his first kind of foray out on tour, and you're out playing golf with him. Was that looking back on it now? Because I'm sure you didn't know back then that he was going to turn into what he turned into.
No, I was pretty self-centered at that point in time. I was pretty young, 21, and I didn't know who this high school student was, coming out on, but it was impressive. And didn't take him long. Remember Curtis Strange interviewing him his first tournament at Brown Deer, North Carolina tournament. and so he's interviewing him. He says, "How do you think you do this week?" "Well, I'm gonna try to win." He says, "Well, what if you don't?" He says, "Well, if I finish second, that's first loser." and Curtis goes, "You'll learn." And wow, did he prove himself right.
And that was always his mentality. Even, you talk about all the surgeries and the comebacks, and, it's like, okay, he's just coming back. He hasn't played for a year. He can't possibly think he's going to win. But that was always his mentality, was if I'm teeing it up and going out to win. I
think he just knew how good he was. And his dad gave him affirmation. That's what's important about a father figure too. He told him since he was the best player at 2 years old. He was on the Ed Sullivan Show, I think. And he just kept him the best player and told him so, and he believed it, and he got the best instruction, best mental, before that was popular. His dad really did a good job with him there.
Tiger or Jack?
Well, now this is what's hard, comparing eras. Wow, would it be fun to have Hogan and Nicklaus and Byron Nelson and Tiger all playing in the same era, because they're all cut out of the same cloth, especially Tiger and Jack. They're above everybody else. Now, Scheffler's right on cue, and, the fields don't get weaker as you come.
Right.
He's playing against more players. That's why I'd like to see Liv and PGA make up, because, you want to see
the best and the best.
All the best together. So
Tiger and Jack, though.
Yeah, Tiger and Jack. So
compare the two.
Tiger wants to destroy the field. Jack is like the Boston Celtics of old in the 70s. They just trade buckets with you until the end, knowing that they're going to get you 9 times out of the 10. And that's what he did. He traded buckets. He just played conservative. Of course, conservative for him was 15 greens around, because he's not going for things. And 15, 17, 18 greens around was nothing for him in good weather. And he'd hit it 25 feet. And he'd look at the leaderboard. If he got behind, he'd push a little more. But he had that extra gear where he could hit it 60 yards by. Of course, the equipment change has made a big difference in golf. You couldn't control it. So he stayed within himself. He swung at a driver like you and I'd swing at a smooth 7-iron. and just hit fairways all day. And he was the best at pulling the right club at the right time, making the right decision, knew when to lay up, when not to. Tiger and Norman, they wanted to destroy you.
So totally different mindset, but yet Jack dominated, wound up with more majors than Tiger's going to wind up with. And I think that surprised a lot of people.
Well,
is that the best way to compare the two?
Nicklaus, and you remember what he said. He said, well, he'll probably break the record if he stays healthy. And he was right. If Tiger stayed healthy, and let's hope that he's be able to get straightened out, because he's still a specimen, you know. I mean, he's taking care of he's strong, works out. He's got a great work ethic that way. I don't know what's wrong with his right leg, but I guarantee if he was out in the senior tour, you're going to see some records broken.
You think he'll play senior tour?
I hope he does. I hope he does. You
talk about longevity and staying healthy. I mean, you're like the dictionary definition of that. On the, in the PGA and the senior PGA tour, 75 years old, you're still playing really, really competitively. Just a few years ago, I mean, right up there near the top of, in winning tournaments, in the recent past. I mean, how do you do it? Well, I'm competitive too. In fact, my mother used to, when I was 13, I used to let her get to 20, and then I'd spike it in her belly. No, I like to be competitive. I've tried to, since the 80s, I started, doing moderate working out. So that's helped. I've had my share of injuries. In fact, last year was the worst year I've had. And I'm going, well, is this it? But now I'm getting healthy again. I had back, hip, and a hand, and now everything is good except my hand's a little bit not quite there, 80%, but I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing. I'm able to hit balls, and in fact, I won a tournament 2 weeks ago, first one I played in, just a one day, but in our section. So I like to compete. It's hard to compete with the young guys because they've just learned to hit it with the equipment. They've learned, they're hitting it 290, 300 in the air standard, and my standard is like 250 to 270. And that wears on you. It's not that you can't compete, but it's hard when you're hitting 5 irons and they're hitting wedges. Talk a little bit about going out, and I mean, you told us earlier that your dad talked to you and talked you out of going to college and turning pro earlier, right? I mean, you're going to get a head start on this thing. Tell me what it was like, because if I'm right and I understand this correctly, the first PGA Tour event you ever attended, you were in? Is that did I get that right, or the first professional tournament? Well, the first. Well, that's right. The first. No, I played professionally. They didn't have mini tours then, minor leagues of baseball type golf. They had what they called a Florida Winter Tour, and I worked for my dad, so I had PGA privileges to play in those in Florida. So those were a pro-am and 2 rounds. And then they came up with the mini tour. And that was, so I got a little bit of experience there. But no, that was in 72 and 3. And I turned pro in 72. So I played in a few events. In the first one, I shot 66 in the pro-am, and I didn't cash a check. There's like 4 65s. I go, what am I getting into here? So I got some experience there, and when I went out on tour, my very first tournament was San Diego Open. That was a lot of fun. I was in contention, actually. I was in 74, and I played with Lanny Watkins and Billy Casper. First in the third round, I was paired with him, and it was real windy. And I'll never forget, Lanny Watkins kind of popped up his tee shot on the first hole and had like 240 into a right pin into the wind. And I remember standing over there and hearing when he hit this shot. Didn't take a practice swing. He played fast. I mean, the crack of the ball, and it goes in there about 5 feet from the hole, like a 7-iron shot. Whoa. And, but putting was my best thing. And I had a local caddy. You need that out there. So I had like 24 putts and shot 69, and Billy Casper shot 69. He had 21 putts. Wow.
and he chipped twice. He hit the pin and came off. So that was a real good experience to be able to play with a Lanny Watkins and a Billy Casper that early in my career.
When you look back at your career, and obviously, the Masters has just taken place, you never got an opportunity to play in that.
Yeah, you have to win to get in there. And when they went over to the British, I also didn't play the regular British because they had 2 tournaments parallel to that where most of the players were over there getting ready.
Right.
So I was trying to win my first event. So I'd play in, where was that? That was in Iowa, and play 2 tournaments there, and I didn't win. I came close, Milwaukee. I finished shot out of a playoff, and at Chicago, I also finished a shot out of a playoff. Had some close calls.
So yeah, in order to get into the Masters, it's the toughest tournament to get into, right? You have to either win on tour or qualify in some other way, and there aren't a lot of ways to qualify.
No, you have to be up there on the money list. It was tougher in the 70s and 80s. You couldn't leap like you can now. There's just so much more money.
Tell me about Milwaukee and Chicago. I mean, you finish one shot off the lead, and you look at especially back then, what winning a tournament would mean for your career. It's not only an invitation to play in the Masters, but you get your card. You don't have to go back to qualifying school or Monday qualifying, and you did an awful lot of that. Monday qualifying to get into tournaments, and a lot of the research that I did on you described as a grinder, someone out there and just constantly, doing everything you can just to get in the tournaments, and then you're in them and you're trying to make the cut to make money. What's it like living that life? It
was very difficult because you would qualify on a local golf course, a public golf course, say, and the greens are a 9 on a stump meter, and then if you and you had to prepare because you want to be used to that speed of greens. Then you'd go out on tour, and the greens were like a 10 on Tuesday, and then you don't get to play in the Pro-Am on Wednesday, so you have a day off. And then Thursday you start, and the greens are 11, 12. So people just don't realize what a big difference that makes preparation-wise. So by the time you're used to the speed of the greens, it's Friday, 9 holes, and you're barely making the cut sometimes. So it was very difficult that way. The thing that helped me, the best thing that happened on tour is at the end of my second year of that grind, I was tired, wore out, and I was an overachiever, if you want to call it that. I worked too hard at the wrong things, hit too many balls. It's good to work hard, but the good thing about that is I was wore out, and I became a Christian then. Much like Scotty Scheffler, I put my trust in Christ, and that gave me peace of mind and also a better balance and a better perspective on playing. So from that point on, didn't always play good, but I knew when to rest. That's the biggest thing that young players make the mistake. They play every week, and you have to. Everybody's a little different. Some guys can play 5 or 6. You think Tiger wouldn't play every week if he could do what he does? He would. No, he plays 2, 3 maybe, and then takes 2 weeks off and prepares. And so he was, had the luxury of good coaching or whatever it was and money to be able to not worry about the money. And there's different things that bother people. Travel bothers some. Being away from family bothers others. So there's different things that can bother you that are difficult to overcome, but he was very good at pacing himself.
Dick, you mentioned becoming a Christian and how that changed your perspective on golf. Elaborate on that.
Well, I was going to California at the end of 75, and Richard Crawford, who was a veteran player out there, we happened to be on the same plane and sitting near each other. And so he asked me, do you have a car to go and I said, no. And he says, you want to split one, save money? And we were always looking at ways to split, to keep the cost down. And then we ended up staying together in a hotel, and he excused himself he says, I usually read my Bible every day. I thought I was a Christian. I was raised in a church. I always believed in God, believed in Jesus, but I believed in intellectual type faith. I didn't have a transferring of trust and putting it totally in him. So that night, the thing that spoke to me was, he said, your problem is you're comparing yourself with other people to try to get there, or trying to be good enough. And he says, the Bible says in Matthew, be therefore perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect. Well, that got to me. I realized I wasn't, there's only one. So anyway, I prayed to receive Christ that night. And changed my whole perspective. Still gets to me, 50 years ago.
It just hit you?
What do you mean?
Yeah, that night, you hear that thing and it just...
Well, the Word of God is sharper than a two-edged sword. And he shared scriptures with me. That was one of them. And so it convicted me, and realized I'd never, it was an intellectual faith I had in God and Jesus. I knew who he was, knew he was a Savior, but I had never put my trust totally in him and nothing else. I was still trying to be good enough. It doesn't count.
Mm. Were you married at that time?
No. And when I went home, and I dated my wife 7 years, when I went home and I said, have you ever asked Christ to come into your life and save you?
Yeah, what did she say?
Oh, she says, are you kidding me? Are you telling me I'm not a Christian? Because we had very similar faiths. And she says, why? I've been in church all my life. I sing in a choir. I'm president of MYF, and I know twice as much Bible as you do. And I said, no. And so I'm thinking to myself, God, she's way smarter than me. How can she not see this? So no man can be good enough. There's only one way.
At what point did she see it?
Took about 2 years through Bible studies on the tour. FCA ran the first Bible studies, and then individuals, Rick Massengale, and there are several players that Jim Hiskey took over, and they did a Bible study. You couldn't go to Sunday, you're playing, hopefully. And
right,
so they had Bible studies on Wednesday nights, and then Larry Moody came out and took it over. In fact, he did it for 20 years on the regular tour. He led Bernhard Langer to the Lord, several people. And then he went to the senior tour when those guys went out there. Rick Massengale was a big influence on me. He showed me how important it was to memorize Scripture, and so that you had a balance on life, especially golf.
Why is it important to memorize Scripture?
Because you're renewing your mind. You're renewing your mind with the truth. If you do nothing, you'll be transformed to what the world says make you happy. Money, fame, women, whatever, all that. That's all the world has to offer. So God has a plan, and the way to know that plan, the Bible's a love letter to mankind, and we need to read it.
So tell me how that impacted your golf career.
Well, I came out the next morning, and man, everything looked bright. Flowers, everything. And then I won my first tournament, not on the tour, but I won my first event I played in. I go, man, this Christianity's great.
Right after that.
Yeah. So,
oh, wow.
That was a little teaser.
Yeah.
But no, as time went on and I grew, reading Scripture, and that, like Scotty Scheffler says, it's not life and death. It's important for him to win tournaments. You saw that at Phoenix this year. He for the first time was duffing a chip here and there, and but he controlled himself, and people like to go, aha, well, he's human. So I always use what's coming out of my mouth, what I'm thinking about, how I'm acting. If I'm getting angry, that's not a fruit of the Spirit. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness in Galatians. Those are the fruits of the Spirit. So when you're being led by God, when you ask God, pray in the morning and ask him, fill him with your Spirit, and move on, and a guy cuts you off, that's not right. That's my flesh. And so you have to, that's just one lesson I learned, is to recognize when I was getting in the flesh And because our bodies haven't been redeemed yet. The Bible says that we're guaranteed our bodies to be redeemed, but our soul is saved.
So golf is a very mental game. Obviously, you need a lot of physical skills and gifts and tools to do it. But we see lots of guys who have great swings and should be great, but the neck up is so important. And I would imagine when you're talking about, inner peace and kind of, chilling out and not getting frustrated or upset or uptight, that would help you on the golf course.
It's like a best ball out there. You have the advantage of having the best coach in the world. And might not be mechanics, although you can pray about all things and he might give you an insight on mechanics. But there's no greater coach than to have the Holy Spirit whispering in your ear.
So life as, a kind of a journeyman golfer, right? You never had the opportunity to win. And I want to get back to Milwaukee and Chicago, those near misses, because what those would have done for your career, getting your tour card, not having to qualify on Mondays to get into tournaments, getting into the Masters, how that would have changed the trajectory of your career. What was it like coming that close?
Well, I remember Milwaukee specifically because I was playing really good tee to green. And short game is my forte. It's always been, I've been in the top 10 my whole career. And I missed 2 cuts in a row before Milwaukee. And I was so frustrated, and I was reacting more in the flesh. I was getting angry. And so the Bible study that week was on James chapter 1. It says, count it all joy when you encounter various trials. And so count it all joy, so I wasn't exactly being joyful when I was not making putts. So that week I determined I'm going to be thankful after every shot. So the first day I hit my first tee ball in the left rough. I was so conditioned to react wrong. And I go, oh, Lord, I confess that. Forgive me. Fill me with your Spirit. Don't let me be that way. I did that all the way around. So the fourth round, I ended up shooting 64. It was the easiest, And it always doesn't turn out that way. But then Richard Zokol from Canada ended up one-putting the last 5 greens to sneak it out. Mark Brooks was right there too. He made a bad number coming in, but it could have, should have, would have. So I was close there. And then Chicago, if you want to go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So Chicago, they had a caddy program there, and they have their these young kids. They train them, and it's kind of like the Masters. They have their own caddies. And I was playing ping clubs then, and I was driving it poorly, and so I used a 3-wood the whole way. And except for number 10, the last day, it's a local knowledge thing. When the wind was coming out of the north, you couldn't feel it, and you had to hit over a canyon, and the green was right up to it. And I hit this 150-yard 8-iron, which was my 8-iron, hit it perfect. And all of a sudden, I saw it standing up, and it went in the water and made double. But I was playing good. I played good the rest of the way in, but that ended up costing me the tournament out of 1 by 1.
So your reaction after both of those, knowing, again, what one win would have meant for you?
Well, yeah. I was happy I played well, it was, but I was happy because I felt like I'd continue to do that.
Right.
And, the tour's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. So, I feel like, and also I was I don't want to call it a tinker. I was trying to get better. And so like Tiger in 2001 and 2, they made up categories for him because he was leading in so many. And then he went to see Hank Haney and was it Hank Haney?
Yeah.
Jim Hardy? No, Hank Haney. Yeah, that was who it was. And also a Canadian teacher. And they completely changed his swing. Well, he was so talented, he did okay, but he was trying to get better, even as good as he was, and it messed him up. Then later on, he went back to what he did with Butch Harmon. But I watched him, you know. I mean, I'd swing like Trevino after he won. I'd try to swing like Hubert Green after he won. You know, I was trying to get better. And so I think I would, if I would have just went to one teacher young, I think I would have won multiple tournaments. But I didn't. And you know, now I know. A little late, but and that's helped me in my teaching. I take it very seriously where I'm teaching a 15 handicap or a scratch. You know, you got to be careful what you communicate because you can mess somebody up in a heartbeat because it's a chain reaction, it's a motion, it's a throw, and so you know, setup is very important, and you have to be very careful what you tell people.
So no Masters. No British Opens.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Open Championships is what we have to
the
call
regular.
it now.
I did play in the British Senior.
The British Senior.
Oh, I loved it over there.
Did you?
Oh, I wish I'd have gone over because that's my style. I loved it. I can scramble. And it's windy. It's different every other 15 minutes. The ground's hard as a brick. You know, I grew up on a public course, and you'd be right in the middle of the fairway, and the pin's on the back. And downwind, and you'd have to bounce a sand wedge in. It wouldn't hold. I mean, that's really different, trusting that. So you really had to have local knowledge. You had to be prepared. And it's the greatest form of golf because you got to have the whole package. And I did have my best tournaments over there, the Senior British at Turnberry. In 2006, I finished one shot out of a playoff there. And then in 2012, I had one of my sons caddy. You know, I have 6 boys, and Joshua caddied for me in 2006. I finished second. And then Jacob caddied in 2012. I finished second there. One shot, both of them, one shot out of a playoff.
Any regrets about coming so close so many times?
Well, I mean, yes and no. You know, I mean, I'm grateful with right perspective, being able to even play the tour. You know, it's a high level. Yeah, I wish I'd have won more. I won a lot of tournaments off the tour. I mean, I won, I don't know how many. I'm not a big stat guy, but, you know, I stopped playing when I had my first child in 79. I played the mini tour, the minor leagues, for 4 years, and I just was dominating. At least they tell me I was.
I know. I've seen the stats too, and you know,
so,
you were. And
I won on the Buy.com and the Corn Ferry Tour. I won 4 times. So I know how to win. So that was frustrating to me.
You won in that in its inaugural year, correct?
Actually, inaugural year, they only had like 3 events, but that kind of runs together for me there. But yeah.
Well, the internet says you did.
Okay, well then they're always right.
Always.
Conspiracy.
They're always right. You've played, but the 2 majors you had played in on the PGA Tour. Well, maybe not technically the PGA Tour, but right, because the PGA Championship isn't a PGA Tour event. USGA does the US Open, but you played in both of those multiple times. You made cuts. Is that a different deal than just playing in, I hate to say a regular tour event, because for all of us who never get a chance to play in it, that would be amazing, but playing on a US Open or a PGA Championship,
really,
was it different?
Really, yes, it is. Both the condition of the golf, high rough usually, very firm, very fast greens. They let it dry out. Sometimes it gets away, like at Shinnecock one year when Norman was leading and coming in late. He spun some balls off the green. But you have, you know, as a professional, it's just what it is. Really, is a different. If you're used to speaking in front of 15 people every week. Same topic, you're speaking in front of 5,000 people, you might be nervous the first few times, but then you get used to the atmosphere. And that's really what it is. You have to stay in the process. You hear that all the time on the tour. I'm staying in the process. And, you know, so you know, whatever sport it is, and you execute. And so, but I guarantee you, Freddie Couples is salivating inside like no tomorrow. He's a competitor. He looks like he's not even trying. And it's just smooth Freddie, and he's a great guy, by the way. But inside, you can't shoot those numbers and not be excited. He just controls his body.
Who's the best golfer that you've played with that people wouldn't guess? Doesn't get the credit he deserves.
Well, top three ever in controlling the ball to me was Lee Trevino. They would probably guess that he was one of them. I don't know about, I'd have to think about that. They wouldn't guess who was. Mac O'Grady certainly was a tremendous ball striker. He'd rather teach than it was, if he had a guy that could keep him away from giving lessons when he was at the tournament, he'd have won how many? He would have won. He was quite a giver. He liked to help people.
Did you play with Jack?
Not very much. Here's what happened. This is my excuse. Early on, before TV and not much TV, they paired the big three together all the time because of the galleries. They want to see Gary Player and Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus. So, I'd shoot the same number as Palmer. I go, all right, tomorrow. I'd be one back. So early on, I didn't get to play when the first commissioner, Pete, what was his name? The first commissioner came in. He changed that. And then after the first round, they paired by score. And then you were able to do that. So I only played with Nicklaus in a practice round at Firestone, and
what was that like?
I watched. Now, what I did do, Rich, is this: if I played early, I'd go out and watch Nicklaus. I'd go out and watch Trevino. I'd go out and watch Watson, and I was following. Nicklaus designed and built the Disney courses: Palm, Magnolia, and Palm, and Buena Vista. The first three events, it was team events, but the first three were individual events in the 70s. He won all three. So I was following him one time at the Palm, and this was early on. I was trying to learn. So he goes around, he's hitting every fairway, every green. He's just, dominating. And we come around to number 17, it's a dogleg right. And downwind, you might hit 3-wood and an 8-iron in. Well, all of a sudden his swing looked kind of, and the ball just looked like he skied it, and it went right. And I go, oh, we finally missed one. So I'm walking down there, I'm looking in the bunker to see where it is, and I look, it's in front of the green. He hit it like 320 yards, unheard of. Are you kidding me? So that's, that wound ball, when you hit it that hard, it flattens and it looks like it skies, but it kind of goes up there and then, so.
Is that the extra gear you were talking about earlier?
Oh, yeah.
When he wanted to?
Yeah, he would be just like Bryson DeChambeau today if he had modern equipment. The sweet spot's 4 times as big. It's a different game today because of the grooves. When we got a little grass behind the ball, you took club speed off because it was like a slick on a wet road. You went slower. You didn't try to hit it harder. Now, instead of hitting an 8-iron, we'd hit a little 7-iron, cut it, and control it in there. So sometimes you couldn't go at the pin, or you had to slice, cut it to make it go toward the flag. Now, instead of an 8-iron, they hit 9-iron, hit it twice as hard, and the ball still stops. So it's a different game. I'm not saying it's a bad game. It's just different. Power game.
Talking about equipment.
Yeah.
I heard you used to use clubs that were so old. True?
Sure. My shafts are still 2002, if that's old. It's
well, 20, but I mean,
4 years.
I'm saying, even back when you were, on the PGA Tour, that you were using clubs from, I saw
Byron Nelson McGregor's, Iomatic McGregor's, Tony Penna McGregor's.
From like what years?
They were 50s.
So you're playing in the 70s. But it's the
wood. The wood in the old days, the persimmon woods, you had to find a tree that was the right age and the right density. But we knew all about, I learned, but they knew all about toe weighting and heel weighting and back weighting. We'd take the plate off and drill a hole in the back if it went too low, the balance was not right, and you put lead in the back of the club. Now you got a wrench, you can do that.
Right.
To make it go higher, and we'd put it toward the toe to make it close slower, and put the plate back on. You couldn't see it, but so when we guarded our drivers like your left arm, and putters, because they just didn't have the technology like today to make two the same.
Okay, so like the technology they have today, you're telling me you're still playing clubs that are from the early 2000s,
On shaft,
the shafts.
and they'd probably laugh at me, but it works. So
My question is, all the everyday hacks like myself and others are always chasing the next big thing, and I need a new driver because it's going to give me 5 more yards. Is that all BS?
well, I'd be hitting at 500 yards by now because it's 5 yards and the iron longer every year.
Right.
They have to stay within limits, but it is very important to go get fitted. I don't care what level you're at.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy the game, get clubs that fit you. And if you graduate, trade them in and get some others. It's very important to get fitted. It can really help.
All right. We'll get back to kind of teaching and helping folks, with their game from your years of playing and wisdom. But let's talk about, graduating to the senior tour and, even what you're doing now. I mean, 75 years old, still playing competitive golf. Talk about how that evolved from the PGA Tour. Was it the love of the game? Was it the competitiveness? Was it, the money? Because obviously the further you got along, I'm willing to bet that you made more money on the senior tour than you did the regular tour.
Oh, sure.
Just because of the way the purses have changed.
No
So what was the driving force in you continuing to play so much?
It's what I know. I enjoy competing. It's what I did all my life. I really I enjoyed the travel. I enjoyed meeting new people. I enjoyed that part of it too. And I took my family with me. We had a motor home, and so we'd load up baseball bats and skates and fishing rods. And
how'd your family like that?
well, the big joke was, I said, "Man, the lakes are teeming with bass." "Oh, Dad, you say that every time." But
that's got to be a difficult life for your family too, being on the road all the time.
It can be. But see, when I played the tour before we had a motor home, I'd be gone, and when I came home, the kids, we had them in private school at that time, and they get up at 6, get them to school. They'd play soccer or whatever, and come home. I'd see them for half an hour a day. I said, this can't last, So I talked my wife into homeschooling, and we took them with us. But I'm thankful. I got to play this long and can still play a little bit. Last year was my least I've ever played in my life. But I feel like, I'm coming out of that, so I'd still like to play a little bit. And the hardest thing, the senior tour, they're changing categories, and they're doing some things that I don't agree with. Doesn't mean that they're not right, but they're trying to shrink both tours. And you got so much talent, and people want to see people they've followed all their life. I think there's room to expand, not go the other way.
I want to circle back to what you were just talking about a second ago, taking your family on tour with you with a motor home. And I absolutely 100% get it from your point of view. You're a parent. You don't want to miss your kids growing up, right? So important.
Yeah.
But from a kid's perspective, constantly on the move, not having that stable family life, not really potentially having friends that you're with over the course of years and years. Was it hard on them, do you think?
Well, we weren't on the road every week all the time. It was, we would plan a 3-week trip, and they had their homeschool friends. We were in a church at that time that 80% of the church was homeschoolers, so they knew they got the socialization that way in a good atmosphere. So and there were different clubs you could belong to. So they kind of got the best of both worlds. They got a great education. They've been to every museum in the United States, and even traveled over to Europe some with us. So it was great. And
now they're all grown up. Your son Jacob is the head pro out at Ivy Hill.
Yes, he is.
Is he the only one that's involved in golf?
Joshua, well, we came up here because of Liberty University. I have 6 sons, and Joshua got a scholarship, partial, I can't quite remember. And he played golf for Jeff Thomas, who's still a coach. And then Jacob is 4 years behind him, I believe, and he came and played for Liberty as well. They won their conference, so he had fun doing that. And then he turned pro and been doing that. Now he's at Ivy Hill and really enjoying it out there. The Runks have done a good job in upgrading the golf course in the last few years, and they have even more plans. They're going to put some simulators in. They do a good job. Whatever they touch, they do a good job. And then I went over and interviewed and said, I'd like to teach out there. And so they invited me out. So I've been out there about 2 weeks. I'm really enjoying it too.
Tell me about teaching. What do you, is there any particular type of student that you like to teach?
It's just fun to see people improve and get the light comes on. And, because it needs to be natural motion. It's like a throw. And it's my philosophy is it's more your body position, your angle of your body, which you can control, that makes the arms and the hands, all these complicated moves that seemingly on video, it makes that happen. But when we do it the other way around, then it breaks the chain and all of a sudden you can't hit it half the distance you should be. So it's fun to see the light come on in students, no matter what level they're at. It's challenging to help low golf, college student or, guys that want to turn or are already pro. It's challenging. You got to be careful. I messed myself up 5 times, in my career, so it wasn't necessary.
You talked about that earlier, having different teachers at different times and they're doing things differently. And you said you've learned from that. And so your perspective now is it's important to have one teacher.
I know Tom Kite in his career went to 2 main guys and he taught opposites. So when he was in transition, he played really good. And then he'd go too far and then he'd go to the other guy. And then he'd come back. When he was in transition, he played really good. So, it's better to stay with one person that more than likely. But and there's a lot of good stuff on the internet you can see. But that's what I was having. I've been over 100 instructors in my career. I had to laugh when I made a resume up. That's too many, Rich.
Yeah. It's more than one.
One time I was seeing 3 at the same time, didn't tell them. And I'd go to one guy in the afternoon and went to the other guy.
How did that work for you?
Not real well, but I learned. But the guy that Jim Hardy talks about a 2-plane, 1-plane swing. He's in Texas. And he's the one that straightened me out in 2006, that late in my career. I was on the senior tour. And I finally realized I was mixing things that you can't mix. The way you grip a baseball, you can't grip for a slider with a
fastball
curve grip. And that's what I was doing. And so that really straightened me out, understanding, I'm mixing things. Even though this is correct, it's not correct for what I'm trying to do. So 2-plane, 1-plane. So I learned a lot. I feel like I know what not to do, and that's why I'm a fairly good teacher, I think.
What's the biggest mistake most golfers make?
Keeping their head down and their left arm straight. Isn't that amazing? That was the biggest fallacy in golf. You want to keep your eye on the ball, because if you keep your head down, you can't follow through. Your head needs to come up, or you're going to hinder your speed and direction. And then left arm straight. Retief Goosen won 2 U.S. Opens. This is bent. Koepka won 4 majors. His left arm is bent. And there's others. So those are the 2 biggest fallacies. The biggest things in golf are setup, and that's king, and then some understanding how the body swings the arms. And that's queen, really. And you do those 2 things, you can enjoy the game.
We've talked about this before. The quickest way for someone to improve their score is to focus on what?
Short game. And nobody asked me for a short game lesson almost. Short game is the fastest way. If you don't improve anything else, if you improve short game, that's the name of the game, getting it in the hole. In fact, when I went to tournaments, I had my best success no matter what I worked on, no matter what condition my golf game was in, tee to green. If I went there thinking I'm going to score the best I can, if I miss all 18 greens, I'm going to get it up and down 18 times. That was my mindset. And when I was thinking swing thoughts and not score, even if I hit it good, it was pretty average. So scoring is the name of the game. Jordan Spieth has showed that.
Okay, so now let's talk about short game. What's the biggest mistake, or maybe we look at it in a positive way? What's the one thing that you would encourage people to work on, to practice, to do, and how to do it?
Well, there's a different setup for short game. Closer you get to the green, the narrower your stance gets, the more you need to be on your left side, and you need to stack differently. So if your sternum and belly button are straight up and down, that's a neutral stack. That would be like your 7-iron through mid-irons. Then on a driver, that sternum's going to be behind it, so you're hitting up on it. You got it on a tee. Mm-hmm. Now, when you get near the green, you need to be the other way. Your sternum needs to be on the left side, or your shoulders more level.
You're leaning toward the
target.
Yeah.
Are you getting free lessons here? What is
trying.
This? So you narrow stance because you don't have time to get out of the way. You might even face a hole a little bit, like you're going to toss a ball, and get on your left side. Get your weight on your left lead foot. So when you just let go of the club, it wants to hit ball first, ground second, instead of thin fat all day long.
What about putting?
Putting is, all the game, Rich, is picturing, visualizing. It's a painting. If you see it, your body will try to do it. So putting, and the closer you get to the hole, the more important it is to visualize. Don't just swing and see what comes out, or putt and see what comes out. So I think the guys are so much better now because they're using mirrors, they're using chalk lines, they're using data. You can get a system put on your phone for $125, a blast system it's called, and it'll tell you how much you rotate back, how much you rotate through, if you're open or closed at impact, if you added loft, if you decreased loft. I mean, that sounds complicated, but when you do it, break it down, you can. It's taking the right pill then to not have that happen. That's why you need to see a teacher anyway. But so they have a lot of things, but especially mirror work and chalk line work, and they've got some excellent drills. I mean, when you see them warming up at the Masters, just watch how many guys, the caddies, go out there and they set up a course, within 10 feet of the hole, and they go through their drills. So when you're on the golf course, you picture on the practicing, you picture on the golf course. And when you're on the golf course, you picture being on the practice green.
Okay, so you mentioned practicing. Mm-hmm. A lot of people go out and they'll just beat balls. Driver.
Been there, done that.
Other people just go right to the putting green and just putt. What do you recommend for people practicing? And you had told me this once before, maybe just a few weeks ago, 30-yard, 40-yard pitches or chips, because it works all aspects of the game. What's the best way for people to practice?
Always start short and come long, work on your putting a little bit, work on your chipping a little bit. If you don't have time, make sure you do that for 5-10 minutes and before you hit balls. And, Stephen Curry, I think I did say this to you in one of the radio shows, but he said when the guy shoots 3,000 buckets a day, but he says, I start at 10 feet and then I work out. He doesn't start at 40 feet 3-pointers and work in. Why does he do that? Because he's getting his timing down. It's not a big move. It's just a little move. And so he's working on his timing. It's the same way. You can help your driver by hitting little 30-yard wedges. Feel your hands where they are and get the rhythm and timing going, and letting the club do the work, those kind of things. So it's important to warm up properly. When we rush out there and don't warm up and we're miserable for 9 holes, then by the time you warm up, you're so frustrated you can't play good on the back.
75 years old. You're doing a lot of teaching. You're still playing competitively. Tell me what the rest of this year looks like for you.
Well, I entered the senior open. There's 2 qualifiers I have to go through. I'm going up to Indiana, Pennsylvania Country Club because it's an old-timey course, small greens, tight.
So
position.
you're cherry picking courses that you think fit your game.
They don't give as many as they used to. They've changed the format. It used to be they had, 100 places you could go for 1 or 2 spots. They've done right. I think they got 2. Now you go for 6 or 7 spots. So it's a little more fair that way. But you try to pick a course that fits that's my favorite thing. Short game is my strong point. It's usually pretty good most of the time. And so it's more about scoring when you play a shorter, tighter golf course. The second one, I'm trying to remember where I did sign up. I can't remember where I signed up for that one.
So you have 2 qualifiers.
You have to go through 2, regional and a final.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to that. I played my first 18 holes was last Monday in 4 months because of injuries. So, and I played really well. I shot 70, but I could have shot 65. The potential I was really excited about that. And then I played in the wind here Thursday up at PB Dye, and it ate my lunch, mostly because I didn't have local knowledge and it was cold. So I used to root for the cold, Rich, but not anymore.
So still looking to play a lot competitively, and
I've never missed not playing in a major event, a tour event in all my years. And this is the first year that I'm in danger. So I'd love to qualify for the Senior Open. I'd love to play, if I could, 4 or 5 events out there if I could. But the section events help me to compete, and I enjoy that too. I can play either the senior division or the regular. You can choose. Next week I could choose in the event we have coming up, but I'm playing with the seniors. I'm playing that.
How much do you still practice?
Even when I'm not playing in a tournament, if I don't have a good practice session, I don't sleep as good. It's crazy, because I've done it all my life. And when my game's in order, I sleep better. Isn't that funny?
Hour a day, every day?
I try to hit balls every day, so I hit a large bucket, and it doesn't take me very long. But you have to keep laying bricks, because a bricklayer, when he stops laying bricks, it doesn't take long where your muscles atrophy. And so I'm trying to, like I said, I'm going to the Virginia Spine Institute there, and trying to stay in shape as much as I can, and can't play for too much longer, but I'd like to play while I can.
And while you're working on your game, playing these events, still teaching and working with people of all skill sets.
Yeah, that's fun. That's fun, to be honest, to help people and do, you acquire some knowledge over years. And I feel like I have, and I can help people not make these mistakes that make you want to quit. You need to get out, Rich. I know you've been busy, but you need to
Tell
come
my
out.
wife. Tell my wife.
Give me your number.
Dick, what a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I always enjoy it, Rich.
Look forward to staying in touch, seeing you out at Ivy Hill, and of course, we'll have you back on Locally on the Links. But this was something a little different, and really enjoyed kind of diving into, what was an incredible career. It's still going, as a matter of fact, which is awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich.